We are just a few weeks into the school year, and that means quizzes and tests are coming down the pike. For some teens with ADHD, that can really trigger their anxiety. For other teens with ADHD, they might be prone to magical thinking, and they might say, "Oh, Mom, I've got this. I'm going to ace the test," only to come home a few days later with an F. In this video, I'm going to teach you the very important tool called StudyTeach, and it's going to make sure your teen is truly prepared to perform well on all those assessments. But it's also the best tool for imprinting deep learning in the permanent place in your student's brain, so it's locked in. So locked in that even test anxiety won't scare it away. I'm Annie Adjin. I'm a certified ADHD coach. I help high schoolers, college students, and all other parents learn to manage ADHD and even leverage some of its gifts. If your teen doesn't have specific learning strategies that are just tailored to their ADHD brain, then when they go to study the night before a test, it's so often like they feel as though they're starting from square one, essentially having to learn everything all over again. They don't know why they can't remember, and it's really, really tough for them to even figure out where to start studying. And then, because of their low level of frustration tolerance and a key executive function of goal-driven persistence that is not fully formed yet, well, it's only inevitable that they're going to quickly give up far before adequate test preparation has ever been accomplished. And then they go off to bed knowing that they are underprepared, feeling bad and self-critical because they're underprepared, which then sends anxiety an invitation to the party. And so you can see how all of this becomes a self-defeating and vicious cycle. With the StudyTeach tool, the student's going to look at their notes or flashcards or the teacher's instructional slides and just quickly review the material, no more than 5 or 10 minutes. Immediately after that, they teach the material out loud. They can teach it to you, their parent. They can teach it to their younger sibling. They can teach it to themselves in front of the mirror. They can even teach it out loud to the dog. As they're simulating this teaching of the material that they're going to be tested on the next day, just by saying it out loud, teaching it, they're going to immediately see where they are weak or find areas where they don't understand too well. They'll know because they're not going to be able to teach it. At that point, they then glance back at their notes, just another few minutes, fill in any gaps, any comprehension gaps, and then teach it again out loud. Each time elaborating a little bit more, each time covering a few more bullet points and details. They can glance at their notes while teaching, no problem. They don't have to have all this memorized while they're teaching it, but they do have to teach it. And simply alternating between study, teach, they're going to be more than adequately prepared for their quizzes and tests. Now, when the teaching gets choppy or unclear, the student refers to the notes, right? Well, if you see that your student is starting to lose steam, join in. Join them with the study step and help them find that missing knowledge. You can even search for it on ChatGPT for them. Stay curious because you represent their classroom. You're learning what they're teaching you. So help them find the extra material and scaffold the study step by supporting them in sourcing the materials that they need to fill in those comprehension gaps. Now, what works really well in scaffolding your student during this study step is fill in the gaps with YouTube. Go ahead, open up YouTube, type in the topic, and find a short educational video to share, and it will provide the information or extend their learning. Now, what you view on YouTube might not perfectly align to the study guide, but it doesn't matter. It's going to capture and hold your students' attention. And then after that video, they're going to feel some renewed energy in teaching it once again. So here's how and why the StudyTeach tool works. All day, every day at school, students learn and regurgitate. Data in, data out. Now, while this may be the very necessary starting point for all learning, it does limit the teen's brain to low functioning, the lowest levels of critical thinking. You barely have to have a pulse and barely have to engage your brain with that kind of parroting information back and forth. However, when a student teaches something, it stretches the brain all the way up to the highest levels of cognition according to Bloom's taxonomy. If your teenager's brain is operating in the cognitive domains of analyzing, evaluating, creating, and teaching, then the knowledge is deep. Deep knowledge is permanent. So now can you see the emergence of a positive virtuous cycle? I taught that study guide to my mom and dad. I taught it to my siblings. I feel pretty confident about it. I think I could teach it to anyone. I'm going to go to bed and sleep pretty well tonight because I see the evidence that I have mastery over the study guide, and I think I'm going to perform well tomorrow. Normal study is not going to work well for the ADHD brain because of hallmark symptoms like distractibility and difficulty in attending and focusing on the thing that needs their attention in the moment in order to learn it. They're going to have a harder time mastering concepts. Sometimes even understanding concepts to begin with is going to be hard, especially if processing is slower due to ADHD or when there's other associated learning disabilities. Couple that with the many ADHD symptoms that make it also really hard to hold on to new information and way too easy to forget it. Now, this is due to poor working memory and the inability to internalize and reflect on what they've just heard or what they've just read. So it's like a double whammy with brains for ADHD. It's harder to get the information into the brain and stick, and it's also harder for the new information to stay and to not let it disappear. But you've got a 1-2 punch now to counter that double whammy. And it's study, teach to prepare them for success. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and share it with another parent who might benefit from it. Visit my website, annieatchen.com, for tons of free parenting ADHD resources. You can also get in contact with me there. I'm Annie Atchen, and I'm wishing you all A's in every endeavor.